without any knowledge, with, without any.
The sound of reading. How Learning Ally brings the printed word alive for the visually impaired and dyslexic.
How and when were you diagnosed with dyslexia?
I was first diagnosed when I was 6 years old. My first grade teacher, talked to my mom, was like, hey, I'm seeing your daughter struggle. I think you might want to take her to Texas Children's Hospital in Houston to get some tests and see if she has a learning disability. I just remember whenever I was called on to read out loud, that was a struggle, and like I could hear like little kids like giggling and laughing because I wasn't reading the words right, and I was a slow reader, and then I wouldn't pronounce half of the words right, and like that was kind of like stressful and rough. But then again, I kind of knew like, hey, I struggle with this. Everyone struggles with things. I just struggle with reading.
It is estimated that 1 in 5 people worldwide is affected with dyslexia.
I remember the most about school was that there were times that I had to use really like crazy books for like large print books, and they were like huge and it's like hard to carry. And then after I went blind, I had to use Braille books, which were also hard to carry and take up a lot of space and stuff like that.
According to the World Health Organization, 285 million people are visually impaired worldwide.
When do you remember learning differently than other students?
In 3rd grade when I was in public school, I remember like before lunch they would always come get me, and I had to go to a special class with a couple other kids and kind of didn't even know what was happening.
When do you remember learning differently than other students?
About 1st grade, I had to always go up to like the dyslexia room, learn just different ways than them. I had like flashcards, and they had different flashcards. Like I had like flashcards with like letters on them and like to just like help me read a little bit, and then they had the flashcards with the math and stuff, so it made me feel a little different.
Well, they caught his dyslexia in 1st grade. The 1st grade teacher had my first son. I have 7 children, first of all. I'm a mom of 7 children. So when they diagnosed my son, the teacher said in 1st grade, she said, I think you need to get Luke tested because I feel he's dyslexic. I started bawling. I don't know why. I just started crying, not like, oh, my son's messed up kind of thing. It was almost like, because I've seen other dyslexia kids, and then my older kids telling me about what has happened to other dyslexic children, like if they were playing sports, or because for some reason all my kids are very athletic. And so I remember like just horrible stories of, you know, awesome dyslexic kids that would get thrown off the team because they didn't study well or they didn't get good grades. So I think the pain of knowing what those kids went through, you know, not in talking to moms, but just knowing what the kids went through and where it directed them because of their dyslexia, I think that's why I started crying, because I was like, oh no.
Every parent wants to see their child do well in school, but it's hard to do well when you can't read the printed word. But the good news is that Learning Ally is here to help.
I think a lot of people find out about us on the internet or through their teachers or maybe the specialist who is evaluating them for a learning disability or a visual impairment.
So Learning Ally is a national nonprofit, and it started in 1948 in New York City. A woman named Ann T. McDonald was seeing, I think she was either volunteering or working at the New York Public Library, but she was seeing a lot of veterans returning excuse me, from World War II that were blinded, that were not able to take advantage of the GI Bill. And so she started with some other volunteers recording textbooks for them in the basement of the New York Public Library in the late 40s. From there, Recording for the Blind was born. And then it was in the early 90s that and Dyslexic was added to the end of the name, so that it was then Recording for the Blind and Dyslexic. And the organization opened up its membership to people that could actually see the printed page, but had some sort of learning disability or cognitive issue that prevented them from reading a standard book. And now in 2011, I think it was in April of 2011, we changed our name to Learning Ally. And that kind of, it was one of those decisions as an organization where we either continue to delineate and list all of the populations that we serve and add another and to the end of the name, or we pick something kind of vague that doesn't describe anyone, and that's what we did. So that's why we're Learning Ally now. And we currently, like I said, we have 11 studios around the country. Our main service that we've provided historically and still continue to provide is that we provide audio versions of textbooks. These are by and large recorded in human voice by our volunteers around the country. We currently have 11 studios in different cities around the country that we record at. We also add figure descriptions for all of the visual material in the books, in the textbooks, which is very important to get graphs, maps described, physics equations read properly in the right syntax and language and things like that. So those are our main offerings, and we currently can provide those to students either on a CD form, if they want to use a standalone player. They can also play those discs on their computer, and we also have downloads available now for all of the iDevices and portable players like that.
Learning Ally has helped me so much with my school and studying because they have so many different books. Like, I was shocked, like, the first, 4 years of college, they had mostly all of my books. I never had to try to worry about scanning books or things like that. They make it really easy to get the books. There's all the stuff online and things like that. I do sometimes use Audible instead of Learning Ally, but that's only as a last resort because the Learning Ally books are much more, let's say, blind friendly, but they're set up easier to where you can navigate and there's actually real people reading them, which I think is really cool.
The way I use audiobooks is that it helps me be able to keep up with my reading assignments and not to feel like, whenever a teacher does give a reading assignment, that I'm going to be behind. Because before audio tapes, I would always struggle with reading and I never could keep up. And they've given me an opportunity to keep up with my school assignments. I definitely prefer people reading the books and being narrators, or I can't remember the term, but over computers, just because you can kind of get a better story in your head, like you can picture it, whereas a computer is very choppy and it's difficult to kind of understand or comprehend the story that's being told in the literature.
How would you approach your studies if you did not have Learning Ally?
I would probably be a lot more late on assignments because I couldn't sort it out as much and I couldn't get it done as fast. So I would probably just have worse grades and it would be a lot more stressful.
I feel like he can listen to a book without me having to constantly read to him. And I felt like going through, before we learned about Learning Ally, I felt like we spent so much time because we came up with this formula where he would read 2 pages, I would read 2 pages. So it was almost like he couldn't be independent of me or his dad, because he needed someone to sit with him to read. Where now with Learning Ally, like a few books that he's had here, he could just sit there and listen to them. And so now he can listen to the book and he gets so much out of it. I think he remembers more, he retains more than reading it. because it's so difficult to read.
What do you prefer better? Do you like the when people speak and read the books, or do you like the computer-generated voice?
I like the speaking better, just because sometimes the computer-generated voice just gives you a headache, and then you just gotta stop, and then it doesn't. Then you have to take more time out of your day and do it again.
Working at Learning Ally really fulfills a part of me that I feel like I want to be a great service leader. I want to make a difference in people's lives. You know, my background was in radio and sort of the technical side of things, so when I first got hired here, that was what interested me. But very quickly, when I started hearing member stories and started talking to other people that worked here, I soon became, you know, in love with this organization and what we do and the service we provide.
My name is Nan, and I'm retired university lecturer. I taught undergraduate genetics labs at the University of Texas. And now I have been retired for about 10 years, so I read for recording for the Blind Learning Ally now. And I do that, and I also am a volunteer at the Lady Bird Johnson Wildflower Center.
I just think the whole process that they get people to come in and read, to volunteer their time, is really cool, because to me it shows that people actually do care and want to help, and that they'll go and dedicate their time to read these books. And sometimes the books are just, you know, like a biology textbook. There's crazy big words and it's all complicated, but people still come in and read it. And that, to me, is really useful and really, really helpful and appreciated.
I guess I had heard other people talk about volunteering here, and I thought, well, that sounds like something I could do. They needed people to read biology books, and I thought, well, that's something I could do eventually, so thought it sounded like a good thing to do.
I think the most interesting thing is meeting different kinds of people. There are all kinds of people that volunteer here. Some are high school students, some are retired people like me, and some have a regular job, and they come in their off hours or after work.
It was really interesting. I was reading a play for class not too long ago, and this woman was reading it, and she was so into it and so just going, and then she had to turn the page, and she was like, because she was ready to like read, but she had to read notes, and then she wanted to finish the story, and she was just like, you could tell she was into what she was reading, and I think that's really awesome. When it comes to reading voices and like the computerized version versus real people, I always feel real people, to me, are always better, because there's still that emotion. Even sometimes people have problems like getting the words out, but there's still the emotion behind it, and there's still the fun of listening to someone read.
Learning Ally helps students get the knowledge they need to succeed.
Yeah, I'm studying to be an industrial engineer, and math and science are definitely my strength. English, no. That's why I have Learning Allies, because I struggle with reading and writing so much. And yeah, Learning Ally just provides like a support there. So.
The most rewarding part is talking to the members, learning about how we've helped them find success in their education, hearing that, you know, before Learning Ally things were tough, but after they were really able to fly and soar.
What message would you like to give to other kids who have recently been diagnosed with dyslexia?
That it's not as bad as you would think. It just like, when you first get it, it's kind of a rush and you can't sort it out that easily. But if you can find like a strategy to help you get around your homework and schoolwork, then it's a lot easier.
I feel like these resources really help a lot. You know, I'm just sad that I didn't learn about it sooner, so I feel like we need to get the word out more to parents with younger kids, because I feel like, because you want your child to learn and love reading as much, or listening to books, or just learning, period. And I feel like if you get it too late, you know, where they've been beat up so much, then you have to kind of like backtrack. You have to get them excited again, if that makes sense. Dyslexic children are brilliant people, and they need to focus on their gifts and that they've been given, because they see things differently, to get the resources as far as Learning Ally and start listening to books sooner than later.
My mom always tells me it's a gift, and she says I just have to conquer the troubles of it, and then I'll be a genius.
One of the members that I worked with, his name was Charlie, and he had severe dyslexia, and I talked to him, and he told me about how he'd always heard from the people around him that he just needed to try harder, and that was very discouraging for him because he was trying as hard as he could, but he just couldn't read, he couldn't comprehend the books that he needed to read for school. And when he got Learning Ally, he said he finally heard, "Good job, Charlie." And that was a really big deal because he didn't have to hear try harder. He heard "good job," and that was great.
The message I would want to give kids or children who've been diagnosed with dyslexia is don't feel like you're the only one out there that's struggling. There's several people out there struggling with reading or writing, and Learning Ally can provide help for you, and you can get a chance of getting the education you deserve. So don't give up. I knew the road to graduating high school was going to be a struggle. When I actually went to my first art meeting, my principal and my counselor at my elementary school, they kind of didn't think I was going to graduate high school, but now I will be attending Texas A&M University as an industrial engineer.
I think the best message that people should know, not just blind people, but kids in general, that things can get really hard, but not to give up because it's worth it in the end, and there's usually always a way that you can figure out a problem as far as school goes, and to use the resources you have, because that can really, really save you in a situation. So that would be what I would say. Just don't give up, and don't let the hard stuff make you forget the good stuff about school and learning and all that.
I'm excited for the future.
Hi, I'm Ben Schrader. I'm 14 years old and I'm in 8th grade, and I have extremely severe dyslexia. You know, I've always loved nature, having a fun time with it, learning about it, and learning about the different animals, plants, and microbes. But because I had dyslexia, I really couldn't read as much as I wanted. I really couldn't learn to the amount and to the extent that I really needed and wanted. I really wasn't able to stay up on grade level either. But then I found out about a great organization called Learning Ally. And they gave me these books read by people that gave me the chance to actually be able to understand, learn about these things that I find so fascinating, and to have such a fun time and feel like there's someone there with you, reading the book to you. Even though you're listening to just a little player, you feel like it's another person. So it's such a great thing, and it's just so amazing, the freedom and the ability that they have given me to learn about whatever I want, whenever I want. The reason I wanted to come on camera today was to tell you that I am the creator of this film. I had such a fun time making it. It was really a blast. But the real reason I did it was to thank Learning Ally, all the staff members, and all the volunteers for all the help that they have given me and so many others. Whether you're visually impaired or dyslexic, there is help out there, and it's called Learning Ally. I want to thank you so much for watching this film, and I hope you really enjoyed it.